Hi everyone, I'm José Eduardo Bernardes and this is what's happening in Brazil. We start by updating you on the latest news from the country. Last Monday, President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva started his first international trip after the rib replacement surgery he made in September. Lula will visit Germany and the Middle East, where he will attend the 28th United Nations Climate Change Conference, also known as COP28 in Dubai. Besides representing Brazil, Lula will address a speech as the temporary leader of G20, the group of the world's 20 richest countries. With the motto Agroecology on everyone's mouth, the city of Rio de Janeiro held the 12th Brazilian Agroecology Congress between November 20 and 23. The event was a decentralized one with parallel activities in different areas of the city. During 4 days, there was an attempt to converge many kinds of agroecological knowledge and the fight of traditional peoples and people's movements. A study released by the Network of Security Observatories showed that the number of people killed by police in 8 Brazilian states surpassed 4,000 in 2022. Of this total, 207,000 were considered black by police authorities, which corresponds to 65% of all the killings. If only those who informed their skin color or race are considered, the proportion of black reaches 87%. Dozens of hooded men holding guns and knives surrounded and beat indigenous individuals from the Guarani Kaiowá people in Mato Grosso do Sul state. They had taken back the area that is part of the Pielitucuê territory. The group of people attacked by the men managed to come back home only on November 23. They had bruises and abrasions. The federal police arrested a man and informed they are investigating the aggressions. The storms in Rio Grande do Sul state flood a big part of the settlements of the landless workers movement in that state. The water destroyed houses, gardens, areas where animals were raised by MST families, and the production of agroecological rice affecting the 2024 harvest. The government announced about $20 million in resources to social aid for the region. The state of Maranhão in Brazil's Northeastern region stands out with high international investment for the expansion of soy cultivation, now called sustainable soy. However, researchers and rural workers guarantee that the new name is nothing but a fairy tale, while Maranhão leads the ranking of rural violence.
Under a new lease of life, soy cultivation is advancing in traditional communities in Maranhão state. Under the name Sustainable Soy, the soy monoculture may receive investments of about $50 million to expand the 2023-2024 harvest in Brazil's Cerrado biome. Researchers highlight that the new name brings the same old problems: deforestation and rural violence.
There is no difference between traditional soy and sustainable soy. Sustainable soy is a term used by big producers, united with the financial capital to create a label for this commodity. But it is a fairy tale, a greenwashing. The cultivation of traditional soy and sustainable soy demands large tracts of land, intensive use of pesticides, and destroys new areas for their implementation.
Since January, 494,000 hectares of the biome have been destroyed in the region of agricultural expansion known as Mato Piba, which includes the states of Maranhão, Tocantins, Piauí, and Bahia. It represents about 75% of all the deforested area in Cerrado in 1 year.
Maranhão e Bahia.
Basically, we have the expansion of areas for cultivating soy and the increase in deforestation and agrarian and social environmental conflicts. The states of Maranhão and Bahia recorded the largest numbers of agrarian conflicts in the Northeast region and also in Mato Piba due to monoculture. Therefore, there is no way of thinking about the possibility of a sustainable soy chain because its essence is being unsustainable from a social and environmental point of view.
A recently released report titled Agribusiness Transnational Companies Cause Violence, Land Grabbing, and the Destruction of Cerrado shows there is still the issuing of fake property titles and deforestation for soy cultivation in the region.
The soy monoculture doesn't respect productive diversity, nature, and human beings who build every day their lives in these territories and respectful relationships with nature. Soy cultivation advances in our territories using tractors and a technique known as correntão, a cultivation that presents fake documents and says that this land belongs to them, belongs to an old man from the south region of Brazil or from another region, saying that this land has a document. But this land has belonged to these communities for more than 50, 60, 70 years.
The researcher and people's lawyer Diogo Cabral restates that curbing rural violence must include the regularization of land in that region.
What we have been systematically denouncing is that this chain of production, which includes cultivating and also building logistical corridors, roads, railways, and ports, has caused intense consequences for our traditional communities in the state of Maranhão, whether they are indigenous, quilombola, coconut breakers, and other ethnic groups. Therefore, it is fundamental, given the significant advance of soy, to guarantee the permanence of these communities in their territories through public policies focused on agrarian reform, land titles to quilombolas, demarcation of indigenous lands, and land regularization in favor of traditional communities.
In today's Culture Talk, you will see the exhibition from Brazil's Black Art and Thought. The works were made between the 18th century and the present days, and they focus on black thought applied on visual arts in different periods and places.
Being a black person should be, I can be whatever I want to be. From Brazil's is an exhibition about the enormousness of this presence. We are talking about the black presence in a country with 40% of the world's slave trade. It is impossible to think that this presence isn't in all the areas of human activities.
All through history of the Brazilian art have not been fair with black artists throughout centuries. The exhibition Dos Brasis makes evident that black people have always been present in the Brazilian art, not only as subjects, but also as authors and holders of their narratives and expressions.
The proposition is quite simple. If, in the 50s, dancing with a black umbrella was a sign of liberty to a white man, in Brazil, during the 2000s, to get out of the street on a rainy day with a black umbrella can be a death sentence. The movie talks about the genocide, not as an end in itself, but as a way to show the violence imposed on black people. It is a proposition of how it happens, and despite all this, how we manage to survive through survivals and aesthetics, tactics, plus the creation of other realities, because the movie is an ode to their creation. And that's why it presents so many moves and dances.
The exhibition is divided in 7 areas and celebrates black artists and intellectuals, such as Guerreiro Ramos, Lélia Gonzalez, Emanuel Araújo, and Beatriz Nascimento. The research process included trips across Brazil, besides residence programs aimed at black people, lectures, and exhibitions.
What happens in Brazil is that we have been dealing, to this day, with what we call white Brazilian art, an art that privileges the work of white artists, historians, art critics, white curators, who are the majority, for instance, of the institutional collections and even private art collections in Brazil.
This is Brazil's biggest exhibition dedicated to Black artists' works. It is more than artists in 3 centuries of history. Charlene Bicalho is the author of the artwork Slippery Lawyers, the result of talks with cleaning staff.
One of the servers said, "Look if the floor is wet. We are responsible for making this type of signaling because if a user slips and gets hurt, they could, for example, sue the company. So we are responsible for positioning the company's lawyers on the floor."
To white people, it is an invitation to understand that exhibitions such as this one aren't just about Black people, but also talk about white people, about whiteness and its dynamics. In a country such as Brazil, it has a relevant formative role. It is important to what kind of future we want to build for this country that is so big and asymmetrical.
Did you like the show? So hit the like button and share with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to receive notifications. We'll see you next week.